Very good. Okay, Mike Bacsik, I don't know that I know of anyone who is more passionate about the Dallas Mavericks, especially in the media, than you are. First off, let's start with what was your reaction when Rick Carlisle walked away from the Mavericks?
I was shocked because right after they lose game 7, Mark Cuban calls the media without the media talking to him and made sure everybody knew Rick Carlisle is coming back as the Dallas Mavericks head coach. I have no issue and no problem with him. I think he's great. I'm not making a change just to make a change. And then approximately a week later, Rick Carlisle says, I don't want to do this anymore here. So that was really shocking to me that Rick resigned now with the Pacers, and Mark Cuban had to choose a new coach. And he made it clear an hour after losing to the Clippers, he did not want to do that.
Okay, so what does it say about what's going on in that front office that Carlisle would walk away?
It's a mess. And hopefully I'm optimistic that it can get fixed and that they can put a championship team around Luka, because I believe that Luka is one of those special once in a generation type of players. It's going to win multiple championships. I just hope it's here in Dallas. And so Mark Cuban and his team, Michael Finley, Nico Harrison, all these guys now, they have a big job ahead of them over the next few years to try to put together a championship team, because the way the NBA is now for over a decade, players don't stick around to see 10 years from now if you can win one the way Dirk was. You're going to have to prove to Luka in the next 3 years or so that you have a championship contending team, or he's going to go to another team.
You know, it's interesting when you compare Jason Kidd and Rick Carlisle and where they are in their coaching journey. Carlisle, 13 years ago, was 48 years old when he was hired by the Mavericks. He had coached 5 or 6 years in the league. Jason Kidd, 48 years old, coached 5 or 6 years in the league. There's one big difference, though. Well, there's several big differences. It's the resume looked so much better for Carlisle coming to the Mavericks than it does for Kidd coming to the Mavericks.
Yeah, and I'm optimistic about Jason Kidd. The resume's not good. Obviously, coaching in Brooklyn and Milwaukee, it didn't go great. He did take over Milwaukee in somewhat of a rebuilding situation with the Greek Freak being a very young guy to build around at the time, but it's not a great resume. I'm optimistic with if you call them failures, let's just say the failures that he had as a head coach and now being an assistant coach with the Lakers for 2 years, that he's learned a lot. I think we all can learn a lot from our experiences, and hopefully I'm optimistic that Jason Kidd is a much better head coach than he was with Brooklyn and Milwaukee.
And what do you make of the Nike executive Nico Harrison coming to the Mavericks in a position that he's never been in before?
I don't know. It's a great question, and I hope it's not an utter and complete failure, because this is somebody who's never been part of this type of job before in his life, so there's zero experience there. I get what he did for Nike. I also say this. Recruiting basketball players for Nike is not hard. I'm not saying he didn't do a great job there, but everybody wants to wear Nike as a basketball player. It's just making sure that you sell them correctly and get them to join the team for the right amount of money. It's not much competition with Adidas and Under Armour and a few other companies you're competing against. That being said, I'm hoping that it works out. It might be the greatest move Mark Cuban's ever made in his career. 5 years from now, I hope that's what we're talking about. Nico Harrison was one of the best moves we've seen in the NBA in the last decade. But I also can see 2-3 years from now it not working out at all and going, man, did he take a big risk, and he's paying for that big risk now.
So what do you think? Are the Mavericks, when it comes to free agency, only in the market for Nike guys now?
I guess not, just because it seems like Nico has a great relationship with Damian Lillard. I know he's not a free agent, but he's an Adidas guy. But yeah, I made that joke on Twitter because I'm not a big Kristaps Porzingis fan. I don't think that he's going to live up to anywhere close to what we thought he might be when you traded for him. And he's an Adidas guy. But that being said, I'm sure the relationships that he has will help a little bit, but I've never seen a player choose a team based off a relationship. Kevin Durant chose a team because they won 70 games and had a championship. Bosch and LeBron chose Miami because they'd won a championship. They had Pat Riley and Dwayne Wade, and they could build a super team. LeBron chose LA knowing what LA could mean for his career and how easy it was to recruit the Lakers. So I've never seen anybody choose an average team just because they got somebody from Nike, or we've seen agents now become general managers. They don't just choose their former agent unless they are a championship contending team.
So do you feel better or worse about where the Mavericks are right now than, say, 2 weeks ago?
I feel the same. I think it's based on you have to get better players. The Mavericks do not have good enough role players around Luka. Most of the players on the Mavericks would be on championship contending teams, somewhere between the 7th best player and the 11th best player on those teams, which means you contribute off the bench. But we're asking those guys, whether it's Kleba, Dorian Finney-Smith, Dwight Powell, we're asking those guys to play 25 to 30 minutes when they're more like 15 to 20-minute guys on quality championship teams. And so that's the major thing that has to change. So in August, I hope that this Maverick team looks a lot different around Luka. That will get me really optimistic. I'm not pessimistic about the Mavericks. I just don't think they've made major improvements by Kidd and Nico replacing Donnie and Rick Carlisle.